Welcome to 100 Year Health, a channel dedicated to understanding the human body, healthy living, and the science behind everyday health questions. Have you ever been in a completely quiet room and suddenly noticed a faint ringing sound in your ears? Maybe it sounds like a high-pitched tone, a soft buzzing, or even a subtle whistling noise. At first, you might think it's coming from somewhere around you, perhaps an electronic device, a distant machine, or a sound outside. But when you listen carefully, you realize something surprising. The sound isn't coming from the room. It's coming from inside your ears. This experience is far more common than many people realize. In fact, most people will notice some form of ear ringing at certain points in their lives, especially when the surrounding environment becomes very quiet. During the day, our ears are constantly processing a wide range of sounds, conversations, traffic, music, wind, footsteps, and countless other background noises. These external sounds fill the auditory system with information. But when everything around you suddenly becomes silent, something interesting happens. Your brain begins to notice sounds that were always there but were previously hidden beneath louder noises. To understand why this happens, it helps to first look at how hearing actually works. Inside your ear is a complex structure called the inner ear, which contains a tiny spiral-shaped organ known as the cochlea. The cochlea is filled with fluid and lined with thousands of microscopic sensory cells called hair cells. These hair cells play a critical role in hearing. When sound waves enter your ear, they travel through the ear canal and cause the eardrum to vibrate. These vibrations are then transmitted through 3 very small bones in the middle ear before reaching the fluid inside the cochlea. As the fluid moves, the hair cells inside the cochlea bend slightly. This movement converts the mechanical vibration of sound into electrical signals. Those electrical signals travel through the auditory nerve directly to the brain. Your brain then interprets those signals as the sounds you hear. This process happens incredibly fast and continuously throughout the day. Your ears and brain work together to filter, prioritize, and interpret an enormous amount of sound information every second. However, hearing is not just a passive process. Your brain actively adjusts how sensitive your hearing system is depending on the environment around you. In noisy environments, the brain focuses on important sounds while ignoring many background noises. But in very quiet environments, the brain can increase the sensitivity of the auditory system. This increased sensitivity can make very subtle internal signals more noticeable. And sometimes those internal signals are what we perceive as ringing in the ears. One of the key reasons ear ringing becomes more noticeable in silence is related to how the brain handles the absence of sound. Your auditory system is designed to constantly receive and interpret signals. When external sounds are present, the brain is busy processing those signals. Conversations, environmental noise, and everyday sounds keep the auditory system actively engaged. But when the environment becomes extremely quiet, the brain suddenly receives far less external sound information. Instead of shutting down, the brain often compensates by increasing the sensitivity of the hearing system. This is similar to how your eyes adjust when you enter a dark room. Just as your vision becomes more sensitive in low light, your hearing system can become more sensitive in silence. When this happens, tiny signals within the auditory system that normally go unnoticed can become more noticeable. Some of these signals come from the inner workings of the ear itself. Inside the cochlea, the delicate hair cells constantly interact with surrounding fluid and microscopic vibrations. Even in the absence of external sound, there can still be small levels of neural activity traveling along the auditory nerve. Most of the time, these signals are so faint that the brain ignores them. However, when the surrounding environment becomes very quiet, the brain may interpret these internal signals as sound. This is when a person may begin to notice a faint ringing, buzzing, or humming sensation. Another factor that can contribute to ear ringing is how the brain processes long-term sound exposure. Throughout life, the ears are exposed to many different levels of noise, music, traffic, machinery, and other environmental sounds. Over time, certain hair cells in the inner ear can become slightly less responsive. When this happens, the brain sometimes attempts to compensate by increasing neural activity in certain parts of the auditory pathway. Researchers believe that this increased activity can sometimes create the perception of sound even when no external sound is present. This phenomenon is commonly associated with a condition known as tinnitus. Tinnitus is not a disease itself, but rather a description of the perception of sound when no external sound source exists. The sound can vary widely from person to person. Some people hear ringing, others describe buzzing, humming, or even a faint clicking noise. For many individuals, this sensation is most noticeable in quiet environments, such as when lying in bed at night or sitting in a silent room. However, occasional ear ringing does not necessarily mean that something serious is happening. In many cases, it simply reflects how sensitive and complex the human hearing system truly is. Understanding how the brain and ears interact helps explain why silence can sometimes reveal sounds that were always present but normally hidden beneath the noise of everyday life. While occasional ear ringing in quiet environments is quite common, there are several everyday factors that can make this sensation more noticeable. One important factor is stress. When the body is under stress, the nervous system becomes more active and alert. Stress hormones can affect many parts of the body, including how sensitive our senses become. As a result, the brain may become more aware of internal signals that would normally go unnoticed. In quiet moments, especially at night, this increased awareness can make subtle sounds in the auditory system easier to detect. Sleep and fatigue can also play a role. When you are tired, the brain sometimes processes sensory signals differently. Late at night, when the environment is calm and external sounds are minimal, the mind may begin to focus on internal sensations. This can make your ringing seem louder or more noticeable than it would during a busy daytime environment. Another factor is prolonged exposure to loud sounds. Listening to loud music, attending concerts, working in noisy environments, or using headphones at high volumes can temporarily affect the tiny hair cells inside the inner ear. After loud sound exposure, some people notice a brief ringing sensation as the auditory system recovers. In many cases, this ringing fades as the ear returns to its normal state. Hydration, circulation, and overall lifestyle habits may also influence how the auditory system functions. The inner ear relies on a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients through tiny blood vessels. When the body is well rested and balanced, the hearing system generally operates more smoothly. For many people, simple awareness can make a difference. Reducing exposure to excessive noise, giving your ears time to rest after loud environments, and maintaining healthy daily habits can help support long-term hearing health. At the same time, it is important to remember that the human body is constantly communicating through subtle signals. Sensations like ear ringing are often small reminders of how incredibly complex the nervous system is. The brain and ears are continuously working together, interpreting thousands of signals every second in order to help us understand the world around us. By paying attention to these signals, we can become more aware of how our bodies function and how everyday habits influence our health. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy learning about the human body and the science behind everyday health questions, make sure to follow the channel for more videos like this. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who might find it useful too. Stay healthy, take care of your body, and see you in the next video. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional for medical concerns.